His greatest achievement on the commission and for the citizens of this state initially looked like a failure. In the 2007 legislative session, he threw himself into a transportation funding package with the energy, tenacity, and relentlessness of the then Oregon defensive end Nick Reed. I can still see him. I've never seen this before. I saw him do it twice. I can still see him pounding the table, forcefully and passionately speaking to the business leaders of this state and the legislative leadership of the need for a transportation package now. He would say, we're on the 5-yard line and we've got to get this ball across the goal line. In the many years that I have observed the legislative process, I have never seen anyone with the energy, passion, and tenacity of Randy Papé. We did not secure a funding package in 2007, but I am absolutely certain that but for Randy Papé, we would not have secured a transportation funding package in 2009. We also need to remember that Randy Papé was first of all a gentleman, a philanthropist, and a class act, and an Oregon Duck. And maybe I should have said that first. It was a true privilege to serve with Randy and to become his friend. I said earlier that the state needs to honor Randy, but in reality, it is the state that has the honor of naming a state highway for Randy Papé. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. I really appreciate you and Karen taking the time to be with us this morning, and I don't think any of us could have been more eloquent about Randy's service to the state and the example that he sets for all of us. And it's a privilege, really, to be able to make this designation in his honor. So, any comments, questions? We don't usually question our...
Well, first of all, Stu, it's just nice to see you up here. And I totally understand now when I've mentioned this before, when I first came on the commission and you were chair, and I asked you immediately why we only limited public testimony to 3 minutes. And I said we should give it to maybe 20 or 30 minutes. It didn't take me long to figure out why that you were stowed in your position for 3 minutes. And you were commenting about Randy's detail, propensity for detail. I was fortunate enough to sit next to him down at the other end of this podium, and I learned so much from him. The other area that, because he was a pilot, I asked him, I said, how come you do so well with, because if you notice, he was the one that always was pulling the maps out. And especially over there in the Bend area, he'd be pulling the maps out, looking at the different intersections, and he could figure those intersections out quicker than most of us. And he would always pull the maps out and look at them, study the maps. And finally I asked, I said, Ken, how can you read maps so quickly and put them in perspective in relationship to what we're trying to do up here? And then he continued, I didn't realize what a significant pilot he was. And if you're a long-time surviving pilot, you generally are able to read maps well. So I know you were a very good friend. You and your wives were a very good friend. And I really appreciate you coming up and making this. There's no one that could do this better than you, Stu.
Well, thank you. And Karen and I, have a real special place in our heart for Randy and Susie, and this is something that is really appropriate and the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and again, thanks for being here. I noticed that Jack Roberts is in the audience. I was ready to say Mr. Roberts, but Jack, do you want to add anything, or do you want to speak on this? Well, thank you so much. Jack was a close friend, a good friend of Randy's, and very helpful as we worked on what the appropriate naming opportunity would be in Eugene. So thank you, Jack, for your work and your work with Randy on tackling those tough transportation issues in Eugene and Lane County. With that, is there a motion?
Oh, Madam Chair, it would be a great pleasure that I make the motion to change the, I want to make sure I get it correct, to approve the designation of the Beltline Highway as the Randy Papé Beltway.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved. Thank you again. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Karen and Stuart, for being here. And thanks again to our staff down there for the work that they've done on the designation as well. I've been thinking about this personally for a long time because Randy was a dear friend and tremendous colleague, and I'm very glad we were able to do this today.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I also would be remiss without thanking you and Matt for keeping this on the front burner, especially through the last legislative session. All the things that we had come on our table, you and Matt kept this as a #1 priority. So thank both of you for that.
And I guess I should have said this before. Stuart was so eloquent that I wasn't going to attempt to say more, but Stuart is absolutely correct that we would not have the Jobs and Transportation Act. We would not have increased funding for transportation in Oregon had it not been for Randy's efforts, not just in 2007. He started working hard on this in 2005. He worked tirelessly in 2007, and I heard him so often talk about being on the 5-yard line and needing to carry the ball forward. And I thought a lot at the memorial service and then throughout the legislative session in 2009 that I just thought about Randy watching us and hoping that we could actually carry that ball in, because I think that's the greatest tribute, and it's just unfortunate that he wasn't with us to see it realized. So with that, we are going to turn